Hey guys, welcome to Tablenauts. I'm Doolin, and today I'd love to talk to you about some of my favorite games that I've played on vacations and travels throughout the last few months. Emily and I absolutely love to travel, and we've actually gotten to go twice to one of our favorite places in the world to go visit, which is the Red River Gorge, which is only about an hour and a half from where we live. We went once to celebrate our anniversary, just the two of us at a little cabin in the woods, and then on top of that, we also got to invite our friends Jeff and Jamie from Foster the Meeple, as well as Max and Danielle, and we rented a cabin and just played a whole bunch of board games and really just had a lot of good times with some really good friends. Just a quick shout out though, if you are ever in Kentucky, I can't stress this enough, please get a chance to go visit the Red River Gorge. And if you live here and you've never gone, what are you doing? It's free. There's some of my favorite places to go hiking and some of my favorite views of where I live, which is really just fun. On top of that, Emily and I actually got to go with Emily's family to Florida, and we played a bunch of games there with them. So on all three of these trips, I played a whole bunch of games that are a blast, but I wanted to shout out a few that I thought not only are great games, but also traveled really, really well. The first one being a fairly new game that has come out this year from AEG. It's a follow-up to a game called Cat Lady, and this is actually Dog Lover. This game is fairly easy to set up. You just gotta set out some cards in a grid and pass the starting dogs to each player, along with some tricks, the basic tricks that you're gonna be able to know. You use the trick cards that you have in order to pick up cards from the middle that will give you extra dogs, will give you food to feed them. They'll give you adoption fee papers that you can use to adopt dogs from this little cute adoption row. Or would I not want to do that every single time, right? And then there's on top of that a bunch of traits that will affect each dog depending on what kind of dog they are, right? There's small, there's medium, there's large, good big old boyos. And basically all you're doing is you're collecting all of these things and building rows of dogs with traits, with treats, with toys, all of these different things that you would absolutely want to give your dog. And then at the end, you score points, but in the real joy is just having fun and seeing the cute dogs, and I never feel like a loser. Either way, I think this game absolutely plays well. It's an incredible little game, and on top of that, it packs really, really well. It's like the size of a shoebox if you had really small feet. That's what I'm gonna go with. I'm not gonna correct that. Another great game that we got to play on Emily and I's anniversary, so again, just two-player, was Ticket to Ride London, which is a very small version of the much bigger Ticket to Ride series of games. Not only is this a small version though that plays a little faster and is neatly compacted in this tiny little box, but on top of that, I actually love the mechanic of separating the regions and scoring that way. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's if you're touching every single city within a specific region, you actually score that region's points. It doesn't matter how you do that, as long as you're able to get to every single one of those in routes that you've built, then boom, you've scored all of those points in that region. It's kind of a balance between trying to fulfill your personal objectives, which are obviously hidden, so you don't know exactly what everybody else is going for, but these are directly competitive. Everyone knows that if you've connected 3 out of the 4 cities within a region, they need to make sure they block that 4th one. This fixes kind of it's not a big problem, but a problem nonetheless with Ticket to Ride I have, which is it's not necessarily directly competitive and mean. If you're very careful with where you're placing your trains, you can pretty much fool anyone in terms of where you're going. But this added region competitiveness is nice and neat, and I like that a lot. On top of that, a game that I cannot say enough about in terms of its ability to be packed and ability to be played and very, very quickly on vacation. You don't even need a backpack. If you're going into the woods and you're just gonna sleep on the floor, this can fit in your pocket, and it's Sprawlopolis. This is a game that I've played only solo, and I don't know if it can be played more than that. I'll put in the video in case if there's other player counts. But in this game, it's a simple pattern building game where you're building out this city, trying to score points based on objectives that will get flipped over at the very, very beginning of the game. Every single card has 4 different sections of a city, and you're going to be overlapping and putting neatly beside each other all of these sections in order to connect certain regions and keep other regions apart, and build roads out really, really far. It was super fast, super simple, and I really enjoyed it. The next trip I want to shout out is our trip with Jeff, Jamie, Max, and Danielle in a cabin in the woods. And granted, we brought a lot of games that probably wouldn't fit in most people's bags on a trip, because you're packing the essentials, and to us that was the essentials. But there were a few that I thought I could shout out at least a little bit, because they did pack pretty dang well, and they were a lot of fun. First off was A Fake Artist Goes to New York. This was a game that I introduced to Jeff and Jamie. I think Max and Danielle had already played. In the box, it's simply markers and a dry erase marker and dry erase boards for everyone. The game plays very simple. One person will write a noun on a board and pass that to everyone at the table, except for one person who is faking it, trying to act like they know the prompt that everybody else has. Then everyone will begin drawing one continuous line. You pick it up off the table, then boom, you have to pass the paper to somebody else, and you're gonna keep drawing on one sheet of paper twice around the table until somebody is ready to make a guess as to who the faker is at the table. If the faker gets away, they get points. If they don't, the team gets, the people who found them get points. We normally don't keep track of who's winning, who's losing with this game, because it's really just a lot of silly fun. You get really crazy pictures, as not only is one person being fooled, but everyone has an interpretation of what that word means. It's incredibly silly, incredibly fun, plays really, really quickly, and can be played with people of all ages, I think up to 8 players even. Another game that we played that actually I purchased and then Jamie taught me how to play, and I've since also played with my family, is called Rhino Hero. This game is very simple. It's simply a bunch of bendable cards. So if you're the type of person who really wears on your cards on vacation, this might be the game for you. All you're doing is taking a card that is not bendable and showing what type of building positioning you're going to be using the walls for, which are other cards that bend, and you're going to be stacking it on top of another, whatever has already been played. Think Jenga, but not everything is already built up beforehand, and you're playing until the tower falls, and whoever knocked over the tower, and the way we play, is the loser, and everybody else wins. Another incredible game that I wish I got pictures of, but I was just having a blast learning it and then buying it and then playing it, was Doodle Dash. This game is fantastic, and I cannot stress this enough. It's one of the best party games I've ever played. It's simply a bunch of marker boards and this almost, if you've ever been in track running, it's like the baton that everybody passes back and forth, but that's a game component. One person is gonna draw from a stack of cards that will simply tell you a noun or a verb or something, some type of thing that they're gonna have to guess the exact wording of. Everyone else at the table, as soon as they say start, begins to draw that thing. And there is no timer, but the first person who feels like they finish grabs the golden baton. The second person who feels like they're done grabs the dice and starts rolling it until the red octagon gets rolled, and then they yell stop. Everyone else at the table drops what they're drawing at that moment, and then starting with the person who grabbed that golden baton will show their drawing to the person, and they will make a guess as to what they're drawing. This game works incredibly well because I have a problem with some drawing games where obviously some people at the table are going to be incredible drawers. They're going to take their time and really want to put their work into what they're drawing, and they get frustrated when the time runs out. And then there's others who just draw stick figures and it's like, whatever, I don't care. And this kind of is the great equalizer, right? Because there's no time limit. You can take as much time as you need until 2 other people and they start rolling the dice, but you don't want to take too much time. You want to make your drawing as articulate as it needs to be for a person to be able to guess what the prompt is. It does not matter how good you are. It does not matter how bad you are. What matters is that that person guessed ladder and not sidewalk. And that's incredible because this game allows you to have those moments that people who may even be really good drawers have drawn something that is just horrendous, but they think it very clearly shows the other people what they should be guessing, and in reality, everybody's gonna end up laughing at everybody's drawings because it's just fun. Two more games I want to shout out that I think also play incredibly well and pack incredibly well is one, Buried Treasure. Even though that box is way too big for just the cards that it is, it's incredibly cute, incredibly easy to play, incredibly easy to teach game that can be pulled out anywhere you are, as long as you have a little bit of a table in order to put out all of the cards, because that does take up a little bit of space, but it's just easy drafting that takes no time at all, that gets everyone at the table riled up. Incredible game. And on top of that, one that I think just needs to be shouted out all the time is the Sagrada app by Dire Wolf Digital. This is a game that when Emily and I were in the car on the way to vacation, neither of us driving, or on the way to a restaurant, or just whenever we had a spare moment, we would be playing on our phones against each other. And it's an incredibly well done app. It can be played offline, which came in handy a couple times, just pass and play. Obviously one of my favorite games of all time. It was my number 2 favorite game of all time last year, and I don't want to give too much away before we do our rankings for this year, but it's still an incredible game that I absolutely love, and I think the app it might be my favorite board game app of all time. It's beautiful, it's very well done. Those were just some of the games that I got to play on these trips that I got to take. I have had a blast being able to travel a little bit. Emily and I love to find little getaways, so if you have a spot in your state that you want to shout out, Emily and I are trying to visit every single state. We have this cool little like scratch off map that we're going through, but most of the places we've traveled to are only on the east side of the United States. So shout out your state, shout out a cool little place that we could go visit. We love hiking, we love swimming, we love all of those kinds of things. So whatever it is that's a cool little adventure we could go do on a weekend or something, let us know. And then on top of that, let me know some of your favorite games that you love to pack and take with you on these little trips. What is it that, like in that little amount of space you have left in your packed bag that you're going to throw in there? Or let me know. I would love to try some more. But this year, I've got to go to some great places, experience some great times with some friends, and also play some amazing games. So go check out all of those that I shouted out. Until next time, see you guys.